Hi there! After this lesson, you should be able to analyze a linear function by the steepness of its slope. Let's create a quick guide about slopes to help us with our lesson. First, if the linear function moves upward from left to right, we call this increasing. If the linear function moves downwards, we call this decreasing. We can also note that if the linear function is increasing, the slopes are positive. If the linear functions are decreasing, the slopes are negative. Lastly, you'll notice different steepnesses of each linear function. If we look at the number separate from the sign, it will give us an idea of how steep the function is. In general, the higher the number, the steeper the line. And we will note that this is separate from the sign. For instance, we know that both of these numbers are negative, so they are decreasing, but the linear function with a slope of 1 will be steeper. Let's take a look at some more examples. Let's compare these two linear functions by looking at their slopes. First, we see that both linear functions are increasing, or moving upward, which tells us that they will have a positive slope. But which has the greater slope? Well, if you remember from our quick guide, the steeper line will have the higher slope, or since the one on the right is steeper, it should have the higher slope. To be sure though, we will double check. We can find slope using our formula for slope. We'll pick any 2 points, and then we'll plug them into our formula. 2 minus 0 is 2, and 8 minus 0 is 8. This reduces to 1/4. On the right, we will choose 2 points and plug them into our formula. 8 minus 4 equals 4, and 4 minus 2 equals 2. This reduces to 2. Therefore, we were right, and since 2 is greater in value than 1/4, we will say that the function on the right has the greater slope, and the function on the left has the lesser slope. What about these two linear functions? This time, since they are both slanting downward, or we call this decreasing, we know that their slopes are negative. Since the linear function on the right is steeper, we should be able to say that it has the higher slope. But let's go ahead and check. Let's pick 2 points from both linear functions and apply the slope formula. We will plug in the values for the first linear function. 1 minus 2 equals -1, and 0 minus -3 equals 3. The slope is -1/3. On the right, we will plug in our values. 0 minus 8 equals -8, and 4 minus 2 equals 2. This reduces to -4. Apart from their signs, 4 is higher than 1/3. However, taking a step back, if we were to order them from least to greatest according to their value of their slope, -1/3 is actually greater in value than -4. So the linear function on the left has the greater slope, and the linear function on the right has the lesser slope. To conclude our lesson, we have 2 more types of linear functions to add to our quick guide, and that is a horizontal line and a vertical line. We describe the horizontal line as being constant, and as you see, it has no slant. It therefore has no slope. The slope is 0. And if we were to find the slope of the vertical line, we would come up with something like 2/0 or 4/0. In any case, it is impossible to divide by 0, and so our slope is undefined. Or we use an infinity symbol to represent the slope. Also note that it doesn't pass the vertical line test, and therefore isn't even a function. Since the slope is undefined, we are unable to complete problems of comparison when comparing linear functions to a vertical line. Okay, it's your turn. Order the linear functions from least to greatest according to the value of their slopes. Pause your video to give yourself some time. Alright, let's take a look. Since linear functions 1 and 2 are increasing, I know that their slopes will be positive. I also know that since linear function 2 has a steeper slope, that the value of the slope will be greater in value than that of linear function 1. Since linear function 3 is constant, I know that it will have a slope of 0, making this the linear function with the slope least in value. We could check our work, but without doing any concrete calculations, I can confidently say that the order from least slope to greatest value slope is graph 3, graph 1, and then graph 2. Great work!